Welcome to the Life and Mission podcast, where we tackle writing and storytelling challenges faced by nonprofits. Because if you struggle to tell great stories, you'll struggle to raise funds. I'm Kay Helm, and today's episode is about the little things that keep people who really want to help you from actually following through, and a few things you can do to fix that. Picture this. You just met with a prospective donor who seems really excited about your ministry. But then, nothing happens. You send emails to your list with ministry updates and you get a great open rate. You see that people are clicking through to your donation page, but they don't give. It's frustrating when you see people make a first move towards supporting you, but then they just seem to fall off the map. If it happens to you frequently, it's likely that donors are encountering some sort of friction, and it's up to you to track that friction down and eliminate as much of it as you can. Now, friction isn't always bad. After all, it's what makes the brakes on your car work. Think about the difference between walking on pavement or a dirt path and trying to walk on ice. The friction between your shoes and the pavement allows you to move around, go forward, go backwards, go sideways, right, without falling. Whereas on ice, you have a much harder time doing that. This is because the smooth surface creates less friction. But in fundraising, friction takes on a different meaning. For us, friction is anything that gets in the way of your supporters taking certain actions. Friction is something that makes it harder than it should be to give, to volunteer, or to help in any way. You'd be surprised at how many websites don't have a mailing address or a phone number. It's little things, but they add up. So let's back the train up a little bit and look at what we're trying to do. We talk about the donor's journey, right? This is the process where a person goes from not knowing you at all to getting to know you, getting to like you, and then trusting you. And then after that, then they might give to you. But those first three things have to happen, and they can happen pretty quickly. But they have to happen before people will actually take a step towards you. So if they don't know, like, and trust you, they won't give to you. They won't volunteer. They won't share you with their friends, all of those things that you need them to do. Everything about you plays into those three things: know, like, and trust. Everything about how people encounter you. So this would be how they encountered you in person, how they encounter you on your website, how they encounter you on socials, videos, newsletters, anything, right? All of the things that you create need to help people know, like, and trust you. So this is why you don't just kind of rely on tactics. So here's an example. I was on staff at my church and I was working in my office on a Saturday when the office is closed, nobody else is around, and a woman came up to the side entrance of the church. Now, this is a door that has a sign on it and it points people to the front doors, his office, the other way, right? Because we wanted people to come in through the main entrance and not kind of slipping in behind us, right? The side door, really, it's for staff. We keep the door locked. But this lady comes up, she bangs on the door, and I got up to see what she needed. She stepped in, right, almost pushing me, like she gets her foot in the door and comes on in, and I need to see the pastor. Well, he's not here. Can I help you? And because I don't know, she in distress, what's going on? I need to talk to the pastor. Can you get him? Well, he's not available. What do you need? Well, why? And I'm thinking, right, in my mind, I'm going, why did I open the door? And all of my internal alarms are going off, right? That's friction, serious friction here. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So she handed me her card and basically ordered me to tell the pastor that she needed to use the pulpit Sunday. Like, she had a message from God for our service. And she just was like, here I am, and you have to let me speak tomorrow. And that's not really how it works. So finally I got her to leave, but I was rattled, honestly. We didn't know her. We had no relationship with her. She came in with no recommendation, no introduction. She made assumptions. She made demands, and honestly freaked me out a little bit. The materials that she left, she actually had some things that she'd run off. They were vague at best about what she was like. There was some like you looked at her materials and you're like, any good shepherd is going to protect their flock, right? So do you think she ever got a chance to speak? Yeah, probably not, right? No. Her whole approach caused massive friction. Like the brakes on a car, like I'm like, if I was driving a car and I would be like both feet on the brake, it's like massive friction, remove all the friction. This is a full stop moment because all the social rules are broken, all of the safety rules are broken, all of the everything, alarms going off in my head. You do not want to have that effect on people, okay? But sometimes when like there might have been other things going on with her, but when we get like feeling desperate, we kind of get a little like that. Maybe not to that extreme, but we kind of come off. There's something off. We set off some sort of internal alarm for somebody. Now, it doesn't, like, we don't have to be that extreme. I gave you an extreme example to help you just kind of see the reaction. So you know how you would react in that type of situation, right? My first reaction was, do I know this woman? Then, does she need help? Then does she attend church here? Like I'm trying to like, where do I know her? Like, is she, could it be that she's talked to the pastor already and she's following up? Like, I don't know, because she kind of actually, I didn't tell you the whole story, but she tried a few different tactics. But, and then I'm like, what is she talking about? And then I even went to, is she dangerous and how dangerous is she? So all of these questions went through my mind in just a few seconds. Now, people will judge you very, very quickly, okay? Just split second, right? So, this is an extreme example, but think about the many ways that you meet potential donors, and they are all asking these questions. They're all asking, do I know this person? Do I know someone who knows them? Do I like them? And that do I like them is less than a second. It's just a fraction of a second. It's a moment, right? And can I trust them? We go through these, it's all an involuntary process, okay? So don't think poorly of people if they're asking these questions. These are questions that we just naturally as human beings have when we meet someone new, okay? So we can inadvertently have that kind of same effect by skipping essential steps in the donor journey, right? When we're feeling pressured to raise funds, we can enter into situations with expectations that are not in line with the relationship. We meet someone, we go right to the ask, or we drop hints, or we're unprepared to answer budget questions. So then that raises trust issues. Or we don't have a case document to leave with somebody, which basically just means that we're expecting them to memorize everything we said, right? So all of these things cause friction. And of course, anytime we're talking about relationship, and that's what fundraising is all about, then there is an opportunity for these missteps and misunderstandings and the friction. Sometimes you will get introduced to someone new by somebody that they already know and like and trust. And what happens there is the person who introduces you is lending their credibility to you. And so it's easier for the new person to trust you because somebody that they know, like, and trust already has said, hey, I know this person, I like this person, I trust this person, and I recommend this person, right? And that reduces the friction and makes it a whole lot easier for the other person. Because remember, the question is do I know the person? And then is, do I know somebody who knows the person? And if I know somebody who knows the person, that reduces the friction, right? So when you're coming in cold, though, you have got to give that relationship time and create a pathway that shows them who you are, what you're about, what your values are. You introduce them to your mission and your vision, and you have to earn their trust. And you have to do that through a communication strategy that takes those things into account. You've got to state clearly what it is you're doing, who you are, why you're doing what you do, right? And this is when we talk about the essential stories that you need to tell, this is what all of these stories do, and that's why we call them essential. The donor's journey is such a big part of where we find friction when we try to skip those steps, when we do not tell all of the essential stories on a regular basis. What we do a lot of times is we do the transformation stories or testimonies, and we kind of tell those over and over and over again, or we don't really tell stories, we just do reports. Hey, we went here, we did this, we went here, we did this, here's where we're going next, you need to give. Or we tell need stories. We need this. We really need you to give. We're going through this. We really need you. And then people are like, wow, they're always needing things. Like things are always coming up and it's always an emergency. And then that hits the trust issue where it goes, do these folks plan? And yes, you're going to have emergencies come up. You are going to have things that come up. But if they come up over and over and over, or if you're presenting everything like it's an emergency, that's going to begin to wear and cause friction because people are going to say, why is everything always an emergency? You've got to understand from the donor's point of view where the friction is. All right. And so that's the friction that happens because of our storytelling. A major point of friction is that we expect people to follow through without any reminders or follow through on our part. So when we meet somebody and they're interested and they often need to talk to someone else, like a spouse or a missions committee or somebody that they trust, somebody else maybe who has a part in the decision-making process, or they want to pray about it. And we want people to do those things. And that's where your one pager or your case document comes into play. So you hand them that printed piece at the end of your conversation, and it has everything they need to know to make a donation. They don't have to try and remember what you told them. The piece serves as a reminder. They can use it as they discuss your cause with their people. And having something that's well written, thought out, and easy to follow that just introduces you, covers the main points, tells exactly what the need is and how they can give, your contact information, your invitation to answer their questions, all of this reduces friction. And, most of the things that we hear online about reducing friction is going to be around your donation page. And I'm going to hit that in a minute. But I really want to touch on these storytelling elements because, of course, that's what we do at Mission Writers is I help you with your storytelling and your writing. You can get everything right on your donation page, but if you don't get them to your donation page, that's a storytelling problem. So think about where are people getting stuck, and that will help you find where the friction is happening. Okay. So in all of your materials, online, in print, make everything super easy to read. Anything over a 7th grade level, maybe 8th grade, you will lose people. Even when your supporters are very educated with postgraduate degrees, they're all fancy and use big words, they don't like to work at reading. Nobody really likes to work at reading. People read for enjoyment. People read to get information. Difficult sentences, long words, big paragraphs, all of those things cause friction. And here's a big one that a lot of nonprofits are guilty of, trying to cram too much on a page. We call it the wall of text, right? It's when your margins get real tiny. When you start fiddling with the font size, you need to edit. Just take my word for that. If you are trying to make smaller font sizes and fiddle with margins to fit things on a page, you have written too many words and you need to go back and edit that story. So that's the storytelling part of it. But then besides the storytelling, there are other things that cause friction. Let me ask you this. Have you made a donation to yourself recently? It can be an eye-opening experience to do that. If you go through the donation process as if you were a donor in your organization, you make that donation and you want to see what was the process like? How many fields do I have to fill out? If I have to fill out my phone number and how many children I have and all kinds of different things, whether or not I'm married, it's weird because sometimes when you do donations through a church website, they try to put you in the database and they want to fill out all the blanks. So that is some massive friction right there. So look at your donation page. Do they have to make a lot of decisions? Depending on the type of payment that they're giving, it may be different things, but I would say ask the minimum amount of information from your people, fewer forms. Why? Because recent studies have shown that one extra field in your form can reduce donations by 40%. That is huge. So if you have extra steps in your donation process, you are creating unnecessary friction. Another big thing is how many clicks does it take? More clicks equals more friction. Do your donors have to leave your website and go somewhere else? Do they have to find your name in a drop-down list? And I know a lot of missionaries really have this issue where that you kind of have an umbrella organization or an agency that you're with, and you are one of many missionaries in that organization, and people have to go to this other website and they have to find your name. And so if you can have like a page that's your page that they can go to and see your face and know that they're in the right place, that will help reduce the friction. If that's the only way you can get donations and people have to go through multiple steps, if you'll explain that very concisely, just find a really short, sweet, concise way to explain it so that they understand you're going to go here, you're going to look for this, it's going to be here. And then you yourself, from time to time, at least every quarter, every 6 months at least, go check that and make sure that that process is still accurate. Because if your agency changes something and you don't know and it doesn't match, that's friction. Okay. But if you create a clear pathway for people, that can help reduce the friction. Another thing that you can do to help yourself understand where there's friction is show your website or your written materials to a friend or to a stranger for like 5 seconds. No more. And just see if they can find the donation button in that time. Shopping sites have taught us that the shopping cart is in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, and that's where your donation button should go to, because that is where people look. That's not the only place you should put it. And I did a lesson on this for our mission writers, and we looked at one ministry. They had the donation button in the upper right corner where every donation button should be. They also had it in the hero slot in the big front image of their website. Then they had it further down as they explained what they did. And then they had it at the very, very bottom of the page. And why would you have it so many times? And I'll have missionaries that will ask me and they'll say, well, don't I look greedy if I do that? No, because people are scrolling. And more than likely, they're scrolling on their phones. And so they're going way down. And then you've got to make them look for that donation button. Don't make them look for it. So it should show up wherever they are on your page, right? So they get all the way to the bottom and you make them work to get back to the top. Don't make them work. So that once they get to the bottom, oh, there it is again, right? I'm ready to give now. And so wherever they're ready to give, right? When you bring them through a process, don't bring them to the process and then drop them off with no donation button. Give them a donation button. You do not seem greedy when you do that. You seem considerate. It's like laying out the welcome mat. So just do that and it will reduce the friction, okay? While we're talking about donation buttons, what does your donation button say? Does it say something vague like get involved or partner with us or join us? If it's vague, you're making friction. What does it mean to get involved? How many things are on the page when I click the button? Do I have other, like when I click the donate button, make that the only thing I can do on that page. All right. So the design of your website has a lot to do with whether or not people are experiencing a friction on your site. The big one is your website easy to use on a phone? Is the donation form made for phones? You don't want to have to zoom or click around or try to navigate, the text can be too small, or or too big, or if I have to zoom and pinch right on my phone to see the form, to understand what I'm doing, if it's hard to click on things, like if the form fields are a weird size for my finger, to click on, if the buttons are a weird size or the text is too close together, it's hard to click. So those are all design issues, and you have to have a mobile friendly donation form. You have to have a mobile friendly website. I'm not saying you should. I'm saying you have to. My coach told me this week that 95% of online sales are happening on mobile right now. And if that's true about people that are shopping and buying courses online, which is what she was talking about, then you can bet it's true for people making donations. People are on their phones. This is where we get our content now. So you've got to make it easy for them to use on their phones. Test everything on a phone, all right? Or you will create friction, all right? So let me sum it all up for you. That was a lot of information, and I kind of went on about a couple of things, but let me sum it up for you here. You want to reduce friction by paying attention to just these 4 things. Okay, 4 things for you. First, you need to cover all the steps in your donor's journey. This is with your storytelling. Tell the right stories so that people can get to know, like, and trust you. And you tell those stories regularly, over and over, because you have new people coming in all the time. So tell those stories. Number 2, clarify your message. Just simply say what you mean. This has to do with your storytelling. This has to do with what you put on your buttons on your website. Just say what you mean. Get to the point. Clarity is better than clever. Number 3, make everything easy to read. Mobile friendly, skimmable, short and sweet, short paragraphs, reading level less than 8th grade. And number 4, make the process easy. Show a clear path and let them know exactly what you want them to do. There are lots of people who want to give. They are looking for a place to give. They are ready to give. They're with you, but friction makes it hard for them. We're making it too hard for people. Let's do our best to clear up the friction, make it easy for people to do what they want to do. I'm Kay Helm, and this is the Life and Mission Podcast. Find your voice, tell your story, change the world.